Here are 3 features you should know if you are using Fluent Assertions. Assertion Scopes. Imagine a test like this, where to assert your behavior, you need to check multiple properties. When you write that test like this and you execute it, you will see that on your results, in fact, it only checked this first assertion. Once it failed, it doesn't run the other assertions. Okay, you can find on the result for this other part. But it would be nice to have the result of all the property checks at once. So what we can do instead is using Assertion Scopes. It's quite simple. You just define a new assertion scope, move all the code inside of this block, and run the test. As you can see now, I have not only the feedback that this successful is false, but also the error code is not what I expect. So at once I can have the feedback for all the checks that I want to perform. This is really useful. HTTP response messages. When you are testing a piece of code that returns an HTTP response message, often what you will be doing is doing, for example, response.statuscode.should-be something, and you define the status code that you are expecting for your assertion. With Fluent Assertions, you can do something slightly different, like response should have status code and you define the status code that you are looking for. But better than this is that you can assert that the response status code is in a given range. What does that mean? You can check if it's a 200 something. For example, imagine that you want to not test if it's an okay, but you want to check if it was successful. So you are looking for all the 200 response code. So on that case, you can do something like should be successful, and this will do the logic for you. Or for example, you want to check if it's a client error. You can do the response.should have a client error. And you can do the same for the 500s. And so you check if there's a server error. This is super useful if you are, for example, testing your API to check if it's behaving and returning the status code as you expect. DateTime features. DateTimes on Fluent Assertions is one of the things that I really like, because there are some details that are really useful and really expressive when you are working with dates. Imagine the following example. Imagine that you are defining an expected date that you want it to be, for example, on Christmas Day. So you can come here and instead of defining new DateTime, as you usually do, you can go here and you say something like, on the 25th of December 2022, this is really elegant. And if you want to go a step further and, for example, define the time, and you say, okay, at 20 p.m., 0 minutes. This is pretty cool, but there are other things that you will like on date times with Fluent Assertions. Imagine that you want a date to be on a given date or after. For example, it should be from that moment moving forward. So you can use expressions like be on or after. So this is clear when you are writing and reading this code, what the assertion is doing. It doesn't bring a lot of cognitive load to understand this assertion. The same way that you have the be on or after, you have been on or before, you have just after and before. You can check things like hours, minutes, or for example, use the be in to check if the date is as UTC already, for example. Those are small details, but the tests become really clear when you are reading them and maintaining them. There's a bonus feature on Fluent Assertions. Do you know that you can test your architecture? If you don't, make sure you take a look into this video. Let me know in the comments if there's any other feature that everyone should know about Fluent Assertions. I will see you soon, and in the meanwhile, just keep things simple.